2.8, again, because we wanted that softness behind her. Flash power, I think for this one might have been a little higher. I think this one might have been like half power or something like that. And the reason for that is that, all right, so now that the cat's out of the bag and everybody knows that MagMod just came out with something really big, we can talk about how different the light from this modifier is. Today, we're going to talk about how the MagSphere XL really does make a really big difference in the way that the light falls. So shout out to Mike Bautista. I was just talking to you on Instagram and I told you that something big was coming from MagMod. MagMod, I was nice enough not to give it away. I just said something big. So today, I want to show you guys how we got this shot using the MagSphere XL. So if you saw a previous video where I explained all the MagMod XL products and all the different modifiers that it comes with, you saw that the size of this is pretty significant. And how significant? Does it really make that much of a difference as far as the softness of light? Because I know in the past, a lot of people were saying, especially on the 8200 and on speed lights, how small the sphere was, that it didn't really make that much of a difference as far as softness went. I personally do think that it does make a difference, but if I'm doing headshots or something like that, I would still use a softbox, I would use an umbrella, I would use something else that's even bigger. Now, how does that compare versus the XL version? You can see that it's way bigger. I mean, clearly. It's, if you put it next to my face, it's up there, pretty much the same size. So it does make a difference. And this is exactly what I was just speaking with Mike on Instagram. I was telling him that, you know, I don't like BSing people. If it really didn't make that much of a difference, I wouldn't try to sell people on nonsense. And in the photo that you're seeing, you can see how soft the light looks on our subject. So several things come to play when it comes to this photo. One, we were shooting at the correct time of day, which is golden hour. So we were shooting right before sunset. Two, we were shooting with a long lens because I wanted that compression in the background and I didn't want her stretching out or anything like that. So that plays into it. Three, and this is also very significant, is that we were using high-speed sync. So why does that really come into play with the 8400? The reason that that comes into play is that if you guys are familiar with high-speed sync, if you're using it, it really does diminish the intensity or the power that it puts out. So if you're using high-speed sync and the flash is really far away, it's really going to struggle to reach your subject. It may not even reach your subject as much as it would if you're using regular native sync. The only thing is, if you're using regular native sync, you may be at, let's say in this situation, probably like F8 or something like that, or maybe even F11 or something like that, which really does kill that softness of the entire shot. So how does this apply to the MagMod XL? Well, I would say if we're using the 8200, for example, with just a sphere, we would have to get the flash really, really, really close in order to get that amount of power to hit while being at that very high shutter speed. I know it's getting very technical right now, but I hope you guys are following. If not, I posted a video on high-speed sync and I'll link it at the end of this video as well. So with this shot, we were shooting it with the Tamron 35 to 150. It was at 119 millimeters. If you want to be very precise, I'm reading the metadata. It was at f2.8 because I wanted that compression in the background. It was 1/8,000th of a second. And like I said, it was near golden hour. And as far as the MagSphere, it was probably, I would say, if you're looking at the photo right now, I would say it was probably about 10 or 15 feet away from our subject, and I had the dome completely extended so it would be a slightly tighter beam because I didn't want it to spread all over the place. As you guys saw in the previous video, if you've seen it, if you collapse the dome like this, it's going to spread all over the place. If you extend it, it's going to be a little bit more of a tighter beam. So I did that so that way it wouldn't just be spilling all over the place and it would hit more on the subject's face, a little bit on her body, and it did spread almost all the way down to her feet, or I think it did get down to her feet. So it was just enough to get the subject without it, you know, exploding everywhere, the lighting. So the power on this in that situation, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm not that much of a nerd. I wasn't there with my notes and writing it down because I wasn't planning on making this video, but it definitely was around, I would say, 1/4 to 1/8 power, something like that. If we were on, you know, the 8200, it probably would have had to been at full power or half power, something like that. And again, what does that mean? It means that the recycling time would have been a little bit slower. So, you know, with maternity sessions, with family sessions, we try to move things along pretty efficiently because if it's a maternity session, she may get pretty tired pretty quickly, which is completely understandable. And if it's a family session, you guys know that you have maybe 10 minutes sometimes with kids. Sometimes you have even less. So you want to move things as efficiently as possible. So by using a larger modifier, not only am I getting a lot more lighting out of it, a lot more power out of it, I'm also getting a softer light out of it because of the relative size of the sphere. And as you guys are seeing in this other shot, we also used the 35 to 150. It was at 101 millimeters, 2.8, again, because we wanted that softness behind her. Flash power, I think for this one might have been a little higher. I think this one might have been like half power or something like that. And the reason for that is that the flash was further away. Usually if we did a high-speed sync shot, we would put the composition would be a little bit different than this. The subject would be on the left and then the flash would be like right next to them, but I didn't want the flash hitting her back, obviously, so I didn't want to put it to the edge on the right side. So because of that, the flash had to be a little bit more powerful to hit her, and that's when the 8400 comes in handy because it's got plenty of power. And then last but not least, it's back to the other couple with their maternity session. On this one, I used the Tamron 20 to 40 millimeter because I wanted to do a wider shot. And I ended up using high-speed sync, even though I didn't need to, if I'm being honest, because on a wide-angle lens, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. You're not getting that much depth of field. In this situation, I did because I had the bush in front of them, but whether the bush in front of them was sharp or not, it wouldn't have killed the composition in any, it wouldn't have affected the composition in any way as far as a distraction or anything like that. So I think I might have used it, I'm going to be honest with you guys, because I didn't feel like cleaning up dust. Because as you guys know, if you're at f8, f11, you're going to be cleaning off dust from your sensor if your sensor has dust. And no matter how much you use a blower, that thing is still going to be there. So I ended up going at 2.8, 8 thousandths of a second, ISO 400, which for the other shots, I think ISO 200 or 400 was also the thing, but you guys saw it on the screen. And yeah, flash was probably quarter power once again, eighth power maybe, because I wanted to shoot a few frames because sometimes they blink. So just a few frames and then moving on to the next scene. So let me know what you guys think. Personally, I really like how soft these modifiers are making our lights because before this, if we needed a lot of power in the middle of the day, we're going to be using the 8200 and it will be a little bit more harsh if we're going a little bit more close up. Again, for the wider shots, not as detrimental, but now we get soft light basically all the time. So it's just a nice little bonus. Yes, it's a little bit bigger to carry around, but if you have an assistant, it definitely helps. And on top of that, it's definitely better than having a softbox or an umbrella in front of your stand because that will topple over, as I'm sure some of you guys know. I should make a comparison between a softbox, umbrella, and MagSphere and see how they all compare. I think I'll do that in the future. Let me know if you guys would want to watch something like that because I think that could be kind of cool. Additionally, any other questions that you guys have about the MagMod XL modifiers, system, all that, feel free to leave a comment and I'll try to get back to you guys as quickly as I can. Thank you guys so much for watching.